I'm Jose with FrSky North America. This video will be an in-depth look at the setup and installation of the FrSky Pilot Gear Controller. Okay, first off, we should determine the method in which power will be applied. The PGC can be used to power your receiver and servos, or you can power the PGC and receiver separately. When you use the PGC to power your receiver, you will be using the voltage regulator that powers the gear door and steering system. So the total amp draw of your steer, doors, plus your receiver and servos should not exceed 10 amps. If you decide to power the receiver, you'll need to use this port to apply power to your receiver. The center pin on all of these other connectors do not have voltage. This is done so there won't be two power sources trying to compete with each other. You must use this connector to apply power. The next method is to power the PGC independently, which honestly is the way that I would always run it. Next, we need to decide how the PGC communicates with the receiver. If you are running a FrSky system, you can use FBus mode and you'd use this connector. If you are using another brand of transmitter, you can use SBus if the receiver is compatible, or individual PWM connectors. I'll set up the system using FBus. This will be for my T33 with a TD-SR10 receiver. By this point, we should look at mounting the PGC in your plane. When installing the PGC, you are free to mount it in any orientation as long as the display is pointed up. In other words, you can mount it this way, that way, doesn't really matter as long as the unit is facing up. The PGC cannot be mounted vertically like this. The first thing I would do is set up the mixes in the radio. Okay, here we go. I've got my model file for my T33, have everything built except for the mixes needed for the PGC. So if I take a look at this list, looks like channel 5 is free, looking down the list. And then 7 and 8 are free. I'll need 3 channels for the PGC. I'll need a channel for the retracts, a channel for the brakes, and a channel for the steering. All right, so anywhere in this list, hit the enter button, and let's add a mix. Free mix, and we'll put this one right after rudders. Just gonna try to keep it in channel order. Let's name this one Retracts. Return to get out of it. Source will be the switch I want to use to engage the retracts. And output will be the channel, and that would be, looks like the empty one is channel 5. Channel does not have a name. Do you want to copy the name? Yes. So this will now be on the output, it will be named Retracts. I'm going to return to get out of that, go back to the mix menu, and looks like after flaps, so let's go ahead and add free mix after flaps. Let's call this one brakes. Source will be, I'll use this to control my brakes. So slider right. And output at the bottom will be the next available channel, which is 7. Yes. Exit out of this. And anywhere in the list, hit enter and then add. Free mix. And we'll put this one right after brakes. Call this one steering. Source will be the rudder to control the steering. And the output is going to be the next available channel. And there you go. I'm going to return out of this. So I just created some basic mixes. Retracts on channel 5, brakes on channel 7, and steering on channel 8. Obviously, you can put them onto any channel number that you want. Those were just the ones that were available for this particular plane. And notice I didn't do any reversing or anything else, just making it a basic setup. We'll do a lot of the reversing inside the PGC. We can adjust these mixes if we need to, but I don't think we're going to have to for this particular situation. All right, let's head on back to the PGC. Okay, now that we set up our mixes, we can do the initial setup of the PGC. In this setup, we will adjust the voltages of the individual systems and also assign channels within the PGC. So very quickly at first, let's go ahead and go through how to navigate the PGC. When you're on the main menu, the menu button allows you to cycle through the options. And let's say we're going to go to gear, which is the first one we're going to go to. Now we can press and hold, and it goes into the gear menu. Now, once you're in a submenu, using the up and down keys goes through the different options. And the menu button selects it, and the return button over here will go back to your main menu. So we're in gear. So on my mixes page, I can see that I assigned gear to channel 5. So I got to make it the same here in the PGC. So now I can use the down arrow, go over to channel, tap the menu button, and then now it's flashing, and then I can change that to 5. Hit the menu button to confirm. And over here, we have our gear and our door voltages. So this is the adjustment for the BEC to the voltage that you need. And over here, let's go ahead and go to the gear channel. This is the voltage that the retracts will work in. So generally speaking, 6 volts is probably about right, but double check your actual gear, look at the manual for it, and see what the specifications are. Next up is the door voltage. So now, if you are going to power your receiver and your servos through the pilot gear controller, this voltage is also the voltage that the receiver will be set at. So make sure to set this at something that will work for all the servos, the receiver, and also your door and your steering system. So I'm going to leave them both at 6 volts. Now I'm going to hit the back button or the return button to go back to the main menu. And then now I'll go over to the brake, press and hold. So on the brake channel, now I'll refer back to my radio. My brakes are on channel 7. So I'm going to go down and change this by hitting menu to channel 7. Oops, 7. Hit the menu to confirm. And same thing, your brake voltage is here. So again, check with the manufacturer of your brake system and see what voltage it wants. Now I can hit the return button to go back. And now we can go to the steer system. So I'm going to menu over to the steer system, press and hold to go into it. And looking at my transmitter on my mix page, and the steer is on channel 8. So I go down, hit menu, choose channel 8, hit menu again to confirm it. And that's it. Okay, now it's time to start adjusting and setting up the PGC. When working with the gear controller, you want to make sure that you do the door calibrations first. That way the doors are properly adjusted and will work correctly when the retracts are engaged. If you notice, I did not hook up anything. It's always safer to do the systems one at a time. Okay, here's an important note. On some planes, the gear door wires go through a wing connector. Some wing connectors, in order to save connector pins, they tie all the positive wires together. This can be an issue when using a PGC, since the PGC provides regulated voltage for your door servos. Please test the door servo connector and see if there is voltage on the middle wire. To test, power up your receiver. Ailerons, elevator, and rudder and flaps should be connected to the receiver and working. With a voltmeter, test the center pin, red, and the black pin and see if there is voltage. There should be no voltage on each of the door servos. If there is voltage, please disconnect the red wire on each door servo that has voltage. Okay, the first thing that we should do is calibrate the doors. And you want to adjust them so that the PGC knows what the open position and what the closed position is for the doors. So we're going to go ahead and do that with their automatic calibration that the PGC has. And I'll also show you how to manually adjust it if need be. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is work on the nose door. So I've got the nose door servo here, and I'm going to go ahead and hook it up to door 1, which is the nose door. Okay, once I do that, we're going to go ahead and start the calibration process. I'm going to go into menu. Then once I'm on gear, go ahead and press and hold. And here are all the gear settings. And I'm going to scroll down until I get to the menu item that I want. So here's the door stuff over here. And that's door. Okay, so the first one that we're going to do is the DNC Calibrate. A lot of text in a small space. What that means is door nose closed calibrate. So once I am on that, go ahead and hit the menu button. And as soon as you do, you'll see that the door goes to the half open position. This is essentially halfway on a servo travel. Now you press either up or down. We don't know which one's which, but we'll just check one. Okay, that's going the wrong direction, so we will go backwards or hit the other one. And it's going to close. And once it's fully closed, press the button. Okay, once we get our value, and there's our value down there, 870. I'm going to go ahead and hit the menu button to get out of it. And then now we can do the open one, which is the next item down. So door nose, open calibration. Hit the menu button, and as soon as you do, it opens up to the half position. And now we go ahead and press one of these buttons. It's going the right way. And there it is. That's full open. Now I can go ahead and menu out of this, and it saved that for the nose door. You definitely want to do the door calibrations first, because once that's set, when you retract and deploy your gear, it won't crash into the doors because it does know the positions for open and close for each of the gear door. Okay, next let's do right door. So that is over here at door 2, and it's marked right. Let's find the wire for door 2, which I believe is this one. We'll go ahead and install it. And now I can go down to right door close calibrate. So again, once I hit the button over here, that door should pop to the halfway position. Let's double check it. There it goes. Okay, so now we do the same thing. We go close or open. So let's try this way. Nope, that's the wrong direction. So I'll hit it again going this way, and I'll go until the door is closed. I went a little bit too far. I'll back off and do it again. Right there. I'd say that's good enough. So once I hit menu, then it saves it. I can go down to the next one, which is door right open calibrate. Same thing. Press the menu button. It opens up, and adjust it until the door is fully open, and then press the button again, right about there. Okay. And that one is now good. If I press the menu button, it'll store it. And we'll do the same for the left door, but I'll just do that off camera. I think you guys get the idea. Now, what does it do with those values? So if I scroll down this list, there's left close, left open, and the value, so for example, door nose close, it puts it down here. So the value was 880, and the door nose open is 1800. And there's the right door. And so those are the numbers that it found when you went through that. All right, so for example, the right door open value is 750. I can go into there, and I could now adjust this value if I wanted to by watching the door. And this is a lot more fine of an adjustment. So let's go the other direction. So you could barely see the door adjusting, but it is actually adjusting. So I can use this to fine-tune those values even more if I need to. But I'll be honest, when I've done the calibrates, I've been able to do that and not have to touch these. But essentially, when you do the calibrates, it puts the numbers over here in the next values. That's done, and I'll do the left door off camera. Okay, the gear door endpoints for all three gear have been adjusted. The next thing that we should do is adjust the door mode. So I'm going to go into the gear menu, and I'm going to scroll down until I get to door mode, which is right here. So you got two, you got aft D mode and you got forward D mode, and that's door mode. Now, what this is, it's the behavior of the gear doors once the gear is deployed. So when the gear is out, some gear doors have the ability to close without knocking into anything. And on other gears, the gear door must remain open. In this particular case, the nose gear, when it fully deploys, the doors must remain open. And on this plane, the main gear, the doors can close without interfering with anything. So that's the two different modes. And looking over here, my aft gear is set to mode A, which is correct. That will close the gear doors after the gear is deployed. And over here, I'm going to change the forward, which is the nose gear, and I'll change that to B mode. And B mode is the gear doors will remain open once the gear is deployed. All right, the next step is to calibrate the retracts. The retract system knows when the gear is fully up or fully down based on current sensing. So what we need to do is calibrate the PGC for the right current sensing for this particular gear. All right, so let's go ahead and hook up the gear. I have the gear labeled, so I'll go ahead and hook it up. This one is gear 1, gear 2, and gear 3. Okay, once you're hooked up, let's go ahead and go into the menu. And I'm on the gear menu, so press and hold. And now I can scroll down to the stall auto calibration. So I'm going to hit menu to hit enter. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to either cycle the gear, pressing one of these buttons will either cycle the gear up or down. So let's try the down button. There it goes. Once it reaches the end, the numbers will start going, and once the gear is down and locked, you press the button again. So over there, it just recorded those values. So let's go ahead and cycle the gear up. I'm getting ready to press the button again. Gear is up, and I press the button again. There it goes. And it records those values. So let's just use these ones. I think this is good. And I can hit menu to get out of it. So, and that's how simple it is to calibrate your gear. We have some values, and sort of the same thing as the door. If I scroll down, you get these items: LG stall, RG stall, NG stall. So that is the left gear, right gear, and the nose gear stall current. So the values that you figured out in the auto calibration, it populates these fields. I'm going to hit return to go back. I think the next thing that we should do is go ahead and hook up the FBus to connect this to the receiver. This receiver is registered and bound and powered up right now. And what I need to do is make one of the outputs FBus so we can talk to the PGC. Now, the process may be different depending on the receiver that you have. On TDR6 and TDMX, they do have a dedicated telemetry port. That port can switch between S-port mode and FBus mode. On larger receivers like this TD-SR10 that I'm using, or even the TDR12 or the 18s, you need to take one of the regular outputs and convert it to FBus, and that's what we're going to do in this case. So in this particular plane, what I'm going to do is going to take pin 9, which generally speaking is always channel 9, and I'm going to change it to FBus. So to do that, I'm going to go to Model, RF System, Scroll down to where you bind it, which is right here. It says TDSR10. And options. Now remember, your receiver has to be powered on to be able to see this menu because you're actually going to program the receiver. So let's go into options over here. I'm going to scroll down to pin 9, which is normally channel 9, but I'm going to change that and scroll up to be FBus with an F. Okay, so all I have to do is take my what was originally channel 9, but the 9th pin on the TD-SR10, and hook it up to the FBus port of the PGC. All right, so I have a connector on my pin 9 of my receiver, and I'm going to hook it up to the FBus port. And as soon as I cycle the gear, now you look over here at the bottom, it says the PGS status. So it's the pilot gear status. The PG status will now tell you whether or not the gear is deployed or now, right now, the main problem is it says retracted, but it's actually deployed. Next, we will use the gear invert to fix this so the status matches the gear position. Once this is set, if your switch position is wrong, then you'll reverse it in the outputs on your radio. So I'm going to go over here to gear, press and hold, scroll down, and we've got left gear invert. So let's turn that on. So go here and turn it on. Get out of that. Go down to the next one. Right gear invert. Press it. Change it. And go down. Nose invert. Press menu. Once it's flashing, change it and get out. Now I'm going to get out of this menu. Go back to the main menu. And let's go ahead and take a look now. And now it's deployed. And now it's retracted. So now we are set with our gear. Let's go down and look at some other menu items inside the gear menu. Okay, so the channel we know, gear volt, door volt, we know, and we know the aft and forward door modes, stall current, we did that. LG, right gear, nose gear, we just did the inverts. And door speed. So if we want, we can make those doors go slower or faster by adjusting this. Oops, let me get out of that. And scroll down. Now, these door open and door close delay, these are additional delays. So what the gear controller does is it does the current sense to know when the gear is retracted or deployed. After that, it'll open and close the doors. So if you have these set to off, it should work, which is the way I have it set right now. So for example, if you need a little bit more delay, you can add some more delay with the door open and the door close delay. So these are the nose gear calibrates, right and left door calibrates, open and close. We've done that already. And these are the values. Okay, and then down here, you have MGC CTL. So what this is manual gear control. Okay, so if you want, you can go into this menu and you can manually retract the gear or deploy it if you need to. And over here, we have reset DPM. So what that means is reset the door position. Now, if you get a brand new gear controller, you don't have to hit this. So after you do the calibration for the gear doors and then do the calibrate for the stall current, if you are moving this device to another plane, it's a good idea to do this. And this just resets the door position information. So all you gotta do is just hit one of the buttons. The position has been reset, and then that's it. So again, you don't have to do that unless you are transferring this to another plane and you've already programmed this once. All right, so that's it for this. We are done. Now we got to do the brake setup and the steering setup. Okay, next let's work on brakes. So what I like to do is I'd like to hook up the brakes individually. And that way I can confirm which one right brake is and which one left brake is. And that's really important for the gyro. So this is the one that I have labeled as my right brake. And I'm going to go ahead and move the slider on my transmitter. And it looks like the right brake is engaging, so that one is good. So at this point now, I can hook up my left brake. And I'll make sure that that one's engaging. And yes, okay, so they are both engaging. The brakes are now good. If you're on a slider, that's pretty much it, except for maybe turning on the gyro if you want gyro control. But let's go through the brake menu options. So I'm going to go over here to Menu, and I'll hit that until I get to the brake section, press and hold. Okay, and previously we assigned it to channel 7. We set up the voltage. And over here, the next two items, if you find that the brake is too strong, you can dial the brakes down if you want over here. So right now they're set to 100%. Next item is velocity. So what this does is it will gradually apply brake force based on time. So let's go ahead and go to that menu item right now. And now we can go 0.5 seconds, 6, 7, and say, let's say if we set it to 3 seconds, now when we activate brakes, it'll take 3 seconds for it to go to full power. This would be nice if you have it on a switch instead of a slider. Since I have it on a slider, I don't want this, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off. And I'll just drop that down until I get back to off. There it goes. Okay, let's scroll down, menu item. Okay, so the next item is G up brake. And what this one is this will apply a little bit of brake force when the gear is up. So let's go ahead and go into that. So if I put 20% brakes, it'll apply 20% brake force when the gear is up. I don't know if you really need this, but it might be nice on some planes. That's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. And now let's go down to the next item. The next item is stability. So this will give you a bit of gyro stability for the brakes. And this you're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to essentially try it out and adjust it. So now over here, the first item is off, and this would be no gyro stability. And the next item is the amount of stability that you want. So essentially, you're going to have to try it and see if what number works for you, and you have to try it for your individual brake system. At this point, I'll turn this off. Okay, and so that's it. That's it for brakes. All right, so let's move on to steering. So just to make this video not super long, we're just going to go through the menu items. I don't think I'll need to demonstrate it. So I'm going to go over here, menu, and go over to steering. Press and hold the menu button, and then now I'm in the steering menu. We've already pre-adjusted the channel, so that's already done. The next item is range. So this is the amount. So if you feel that the servo is moving too much or not enough, you can adjust your range over here. The next item is pretty interesting. This is stab mode. We give you the option of running the steering stabilizer in heading hold mode or stabilized mode, depending on which you prefer. Some steering gyros use one mode, some use the other. We give you the option of doing both. So that's on personal preference. Personally, I do like heading hold mode. It does keep the plane nice and straight when you're going down the runway. Next item is stab gain. So this you're going to have to play with depending on your particular setup and your particular plane, how much gain you need. So I would do a couple of taxi runs, with different speeds and just make sure that the stab is not moving too much. You'll know when it's moving too much when it starts, modulating like left and right, left and right, left and right. And so you'll back it off from there. Okay, stab direction. This is the gyro correction direction. So you're going to have to move your plane and see which way it's correcting. If it's correcting the wrong direction, you can adjust this over here. If you need to adjust your stick direction, so when you move the stick over and it's going the wrong direction, then you'll do that with your transmitter and do your standard reversing on that. Okay, next item. This is steer trim, and this one is important. You want to adjust your steering trim so that your plane is tracking straight. The gyro modes do rely on knowing what center is, so this is important to adjust. You want to go ahead and not do the steering trim in the radio. You want to go ahead and do it here in the pilot gear controller. So adjust this. You'll have to do some taxi tests and make sure that the plane is tracking straight. And when it is, then you're good. All right, so that is it. We have gone through the gear setup, the door setups, the brake setup, and the steering setup. The only other item on this is the info, and all that is, press and hold, is just the version information. So besides that, I think we've gone through everything. If you do have any questions, go ahead and comment on this video or send me an email at Jose, J-O-S-E, at FrSky-RC.com. Thank you very much and have a good day.